Ciao everyone, this is Nate on the Stone. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be talking about the twisting of religion for a personal agenda and why that ends up just shooting you in the foot. You've probably heard that the state of Georgia recently passed a heartbeat bill, which says that an abortion can't be performed on a baby after a heartbeat can be detected within that baby, usually 6 weeks after conception. Ideologues went crazy.
Well, then everyone loses their minds.
Particularly actress Alyssa Milano, who actually encouraged the elite of Hollywood to boycott the state of Georgia to show those white patriarchal men that there are consequences, by golly, for trying to control a woman's body. So, you know, the usual. But then Milano went a step further and she tried to actually bring religion to her side of the argument. She tweeted out, quote, "I love God. I believe in God. But I don't believe my personal beliefs, of which we can't confirm, should override scientific facts and what we can confirm. If I have told you earthly things and you do not believe, how can you believe if I tell you heavenly things?" John 3:12. Now, there are several problems nestled within this tweet. The first one being, what are these scientific facts that Milano is alluding? There are the scientific facts of biology and embryology, but all they do is actually prove that the developing fetus is a human child from the moment of conception, which proves that Georgia's heartbeat bill is right, and Milano and her Hollywood friends are wrong. There's also the fact that if there is a creator who made both science and religion, then science and religion aren't going to contradict each other because they come from the same source. There's the fact that if Milano does believe and love God like she claims, and acknowledges that God isn't actually too keen on abortion, why wouldn't she fight for her beliefs like we would expect? And of course, there's the tiny little detail that Milano tries to use the Bible to justify abortion. Apparently, the same Bible that says, "Before I formed you in the womb I knew you," Jeremiah 1:5, "Suffer the little children to come to me," Luke 18:16, and "For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb," Psalm 139 verse 13, also justifies abortion, according to Milano. Given all that, I think it's safe to say that Milano isn't using her faith in good faith. She is either genuinely confused about what her faith teaches, or she is trying to twist her religion to make it support something that she wants it to support, but actually doesn't. And this isn't the first time that this has happened. Who can forget last year when the pastor of the Greater Purpose Community Church of Santa Cruz, California, Christopher Van Hall, declared that Jesus was crucified not to actually save people from their sins, like Christianity says, but because of white supremacy. Quote, "We are all for racial justice, which Jesus was a Palestinian Jewish rabbi. He was a person of color that was killed by white supremacy, so we're usually making every effort to be on the front lines for racial justice. So that's what sets us apart from many American churches," unquote. Even though the Roman Empire had no concept of white supremacy because anyone from the empire, which included Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa, could become an equal Roman citizen regardless of their skin color, making it kind of hard for the Roman Empire to have crucified Jesus out of something that they had absolutely no idea about. And who can forget the people who have argued that the God of the Torah and of the Bible has to be gender neutral, because you see, the gods of the ancient world, like Mesopotamia and Egypt, were actually very gender fluid. And the Torah and the Bible even refers to the kings of ancient Israel as nursing kings, which is proof positive that the God of the Torah and of the Bible has to conform to our modern ideas of transgenderism.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Even though the God of the Torah and of the Bible acts like a male creator because he acts upon instead of is acted upon, and being just like the ancient gods of Mesopotamia and Egypt is probably the last thing that the God of the Torah and of the Bible would want to be. And this isn't something that is just particular to the political left. Rod Dreher, a writer at the American Conservative, has written for several years about how the right has just as much of a tendency to twist religion in order to make it more of what they want it to be. In October of 2017, Dreher reported about an interview that Fox host personality Sean Hannity gave with Robert Jeffress, the pastor of First Baptist Dallas Church, in which Hannity said that his conscience is the only real arbiter of what he considers right and wrong. Hannity said, quote, "I know when I'm being a jerk, when I'm angry, when I'm wrong, because God tells me in my heart when I'm wrong," unquote. Now that doesn't sound too bad on the face of it, but Dreher pointed out, quote, A properly born-again evangelical Christian would say that Scripture is the ultimate authority to which he bows down. But Hannity didn't say that. He said it was his conscience. The implication here is that if he feels guilty about something, it must be a sin. If not, not. Dreyer and others have dubbed this tendency to twist religion in order to make it more accommodating to our own personal wants and desires, moralistic therapeutic deism, which, according to Dr. Christian Smith, shares several characteristics, such as God exists. He wants us to be fair, nice, and good to everyone. The chief goal of life is to feel good about yourself. God isn't needed unless you have a problem. And while these characteristics might make it seem like moralistic therapeutic deism is an actual religion, Dr. Christian Smith has pointed out that MTD is actually a parasite of religion because it requires the doctrines and beliefs of actual religions in order to survive, because when you get right down to it, MTD has no real substance in and of itself. And to understand why that is, we need to remind ourselves what exactly a religion is. Experts, of course, have disagreed as to what exactly is and isn't a religion, which isn't surprising because if they're not disagreeing with each other, then they're not doing their job. I think it's one of their union rules. But they have recognized characteristics of religion such as belief in a supernatural being or beings, distinction between the sacred and profane, ritual acts, moral code given to men from the deity or deities, prayer. These characteristics help give religion its form, which is just a big fancy philosophical word meaning what makes a specific thing what it is. And the key characteristics, the ones that really get the ball rolling when it comes to religion, are belief in the divine and the moral code, which a religion's adherents believe the divine gave to them. Sincerely religious people, doesn't matter of what religion, believe that their religion was started by a divine being or beings to act as a bridge with people on one end and the divine on the other, because people, for whatever reason, needed fixing. In Judaism and Christianity, the idea is that sin has separated people from God. In Islam, the idea is that forgetfulness separates people from Allah. In Zoroastrianism, the idea is that people need the religion in order to teach them how to do good things, which is how they help their god, Ahura Mazda, return the world to its original state of perfection. But because we're only human and we have a tendency to screw up, we need the rules, practices, doctrines, and dogmas to keep us on the straight and narrow bridge. Unlike philosophers and gurus who can be followed and unfollowed whenever, making it kind of like Twitter, if you're committed to a religion, you're committed to the idea that it had a divine origin, and that its doctrines and beliefs are sacred, thus making it separate from the rest of the world. On top of that, as an added bonus, is the richness of developed thought that these religions have. Judaism, Christianity, Buddhism, Islam have existed for thousands of years, and brilliant men and women have developed their respective theologies. To take Christianity just as one example, Augustine of Hippo baptized Plato's philosophy, and Thomas Aquinas did the same thing with Aristotle's philosophy, both enriching and showing that Christianity was compatible with the philosophies that were produced by two of the greatest minds of the West. And on top of that, you have men like Martin Luther, C.S. Lewis, Dietrich Bonhoeffer, Karl Wojtyla, Francis of Assisi, Jacques Maritain, just to name a few, all of them adding their own understanding, their own insights within the long line of the Christian tradition. All of them adding to the richness of the Christian tradition by understanding, loving, and using what had come before them. And when we start changing a religion to make it reflect what we want, what we're doing is changing its form. Again, what makes it what it is. And we're changing it into something that it's not supposed to be. Well, what's the problem with that? The problem comes from the paradox that we're both important and unimportant to a religion. Take this church. Construction began in 1869, and services continue to be held in it every Sunday up to today. And this church, in the middle of 21st century America, only exists because a man who claimed to be the Son of God died in a backwater province of the Roman Empire almost 2,000 years ago. That one event sparked a domino effect that directly led to the building of this church. Now, from one angle, everyone who goes to services here is infinitely valuable to their religion because their religion teaches them that each one of them has so much intrinsic worth that God came down from heaven, became a man, and died for them, giving them their religion and this church, so that they could join with him in communion in heaven. But from another angle, they are infinitely unimportant to the religion because the religion doesn't depend on any single individual one of them for its continuation. At 2,000 years old, almost, its wisdom, doctrine, dogmas, and rules were here long before any of them were born, and they'll be here long after all of them are dead. And this fact, added to the fact that they're supposed to believe that God started their religion, means that they don't own their religion. Instead, their religion owns them. Think of it like this. Chess is one of the oldest games in the world, been around for thousands of years, and in all that time, it's developed its own rules and traditions that we all agree to play by whenever we sit down with an opponent. If a chess player just sat down one day and declared that he was going to arbitrarily change the rules to make it reflect more how he thought it should look like, he'd be laughed out of the room, and to be honest, we'd probably be right along with everyone else laughing at him. If we implicitly recognize, then, that we can't just arbitrarily change the rules of a game, why should we be able to change the rules of a religion, something that supposedly we believe has a divine origin? At the beginning of the video, I said that all of this religious twisting was the equivalent of shooting yourself in the foot, because people, whether they realize it or not, need a religious framework of some kind. First, because only a religious framework can answer some of the questions that we all inherently have inside of us. Who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose here on Earth? Science can't answer those questions. Second, because no one person can know everything there is to know about everything, a point that the economist Dr. Thomas Sowell has made, we have to rely on the accumulated wisdom of the past in order to make any progress. And that's what we do anytime that we tap into any field of knowledge. But when we take a religion and we twist it to make it conform with how we think, not only are we discarding the wisdom of the past and replacing it with our own egos and the fads of the time, but we're also denying the belief that we're supposed to have that that religion had a divine origin. Instead of a bridge between the divine and people, instead it just becomes a reflection of our own ego. This isn't to say that you can't switch religions. This isn't even to say that you can't make your own religion if that's what you want. But it is to say that if you're going to stay within a certain religious tradition, keep it at 100 and be part of that tradition. Commit to it and let it change you instead of you trying to change it. Commitment is what we want and what the world needs. But what say you? Is this religious twisting, this moralistic therapeutic deism, a dishonest throwing away of the past and its accumulated wisdom? Or is it just a way of us to be more authentic to our true selves? As always, let me know your thoughts, your opinions down in the comments section below. Well, that about wraps up everything for right now, gang. As always, if you liked the video, whether you agreed with me or not, then don't forget to show your support by giving it a like and sharing it with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, and all the other social media platforms. And if you like videos about the culture, politics, or religion from a different POV, then don't forget to subscribe to the channel and to ring that bell for notifications so that you will always know when I release new videos just like this every Tuesday. Videos you're not going to want to miss. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you for giving me a little bit of your day. Thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel thus far. And I will see you all again next week, gang, here on Top of the Stone. Ciao.